Hey YouTube, Dread Joker here, and today we're going to be looking at a really big thing. This is the Power Rangers Ninja Steel Lion Fire Fortress Zord, which, as the box says, right here, is over 20 inches tall, and I'm pretty sure I need to go get my head examined because I apparently do not know what 20 inches is anymore. This thing is so big, it can have a 5-inch figure in the chest. Let me just undo my tripod mount a little bit so I can turn it down. You can see this thing is massive, and it is a Toys R Us exclusive, which we are going to be getting into in quite a little bit, because this thing I have some very mixed feelings about. Made by Bandai, ages 4+, which go figure, and I'm going to explain my mixed feelings on this once we get into it. Let me back the camera off here. It has 3 modes. It has the Megazord mode, go figure, it's a Megazord. The Ultra Megazord mode, which I don't know why we just can't call it an Ultra Zord anymore, but again, I'll get into that later. And tilting it up here, we have Fortress mode, which from the picture is very lackluster, because it just looks like they just threw a bunch of figures in because screw it. And I apologize that I did not have time to set up my set or anything like that. This thing is so big, I'm actually having to film this in the living room, because my room has no room for this thing. Honestly, this is so big, it's probably going to have to go back within the next 48 hours. I have no place to stick this thing. For Megazord mode, you can put the pilot in the cockpit of the lion's mouth. Of course, everything else is sold separately. You got a nice stock picture of the very blank Megazord over here, and that's another thing we'll get into. The Ultra Megazord, to make this, you need the Ninja Steel Megazord or any Ninja Steel Megazord frame. It does not have to be this exact color scheme because, let's face it, they have been making a lot of repaints lately. You also need the Bull Rider Megazord, which actually, in actuality, you only need 2 parts from it. So, then you've got a Fortress mode, which it has twin firing turrets and a hidden jail. Okay. And the helipad, and I'm going to get into all this stuff in a few seconds here, but... And then it says you can press to activate 20 sound effects. No, you cannot. I'm going to show you that too. I don't think there are even 10 programmed on this sound chip. And, ooh, look, you can capture villains, because we really asked for that feature. So, now that we're done with the box, which is a big freaking thing, I'm going to have to move this out of the way so that I can get to this big thing, which is so big I can't even have it all. I have it all in frame right now, but that's only because I'm sitting about maybe... Here's issue number 1. It's made very cheaply, which I don't mind, but being made cheaply has its severe drawbacks. Please, for the love of all things holy, go back in the hole! Of course, now the camera's on, it's not going to cooperate. There we go. If I knew what I was doing more than half the time, I wouldn't be in frame all the time, and unfortunately there is one drawback to this thing. He does have visible combined mode head syndrome on the back of the lion head, so that's already first thing. Massive, and I mean, let me get this here up. Massive freaking gap here. Again, understandable. Here's where things get where I don't like. Let's just take a look at the missile launchers, shall we? Let's pop them off, because why not? I actually like the design of this. This is a solid design. It looks pretty powerful, and it's supposed to emulate the cockpit handle that the Ultra Zord in Japan is known for. And I'm sorry I had for such a long pause there, but I'm filming this at 6 a.m., and I am exhausted. But turning the missile launcher around, you see that there is nothing going on here. And by nothing, I mean nothing. It is completely hollow on everything. There is no spring, so this is a friction missile. So, you, fat guy, out of the way. I will give this credit one thing. See, you hear this? No, you don't. You don't hear anything because the wheels do not squeak on this. That is the one positive I can give this thing. The wheels do not squeak. But yeah, back to the missiles. This is just a little friction missile, so you just do this and look at that. That was full power from my thumb. It's not like I can just go. You get maybe 3-5 inches from this thing on a single piece of power. So let me just grab the missile, because I don't fire missiles on camera normally, because I generally lose them. And seeing as how I'm likely, there's a 99.99% chance of me returning this thing, I can't lose any of the parts. Let's move on to section 2, shall we? Because this thing has to be examined in sections. The tail here, if you can even call it that, does not secure in the least. And that drives me freaking crazy. There's nothing to even keep these sections tabbed together. And I'm apologizing. The 6 a.m. I'm not exactly great. But as this thing is going back in the next 48 hours, I don't know when I'm going to have time to do this again. So, these they just pop right out. And I will give them credit. These are actually very solid construction, even though they are hollow as crap. They could have done with some paint application here, like just maybe painting this star red, because that's what it is in the show. It's painted red. I wouldn't even care if there was, like, you know, a stupid sticker. I'd take anything, just so I don't have to paint it myself, if I was keeping this thing. Next, let's get on to a neat little gimmick. I say neat because they designed this thing very, very stupidly, I'm going to say, because while they based it on the Japanese mold, ours does significantly less and more. So, here is the quote-unquote helipad, and if you can land anything on this helipad here, which is about the size of a 50-cent piece. Actually, let me just grab my salt shaker here, because it's on the table in the living room. It's not even it's the exact same length or circumference as a salt shaker, so that's ridiculous. You can't land anything. A Minicon couldn't land here from Transformers, but this is the gimmick that they thought we all needed. And it does not say this on the package. Some other reviewers did not mention this fully. This part does fully sink in, so you don't have to have the option of it just stuck up all the way. It does sink in, and you do need both hands to get this thing started. And this is the stupid jail. Why was this even considered? The only thing I actually used this for all of 10 minutes was storage. So that way, any parts that cannot go on this thing in the Ultrazord formation get stored in the box. Unfortunately, I quickly ran out of room because there are a lot of parts that cannot be stored on this thing because of how they designed it. Thank you, Bandai. And as you can see, removing this part gives you a really significant gap. So, let's get this put back in. Let me just... Alright, come on, turn around. Yeah, this is going to be a long one, because this guy is too big to operate from behind a camera. You gotta rip his head off, because this thing... For the price tag, I'm surprised it actually came with batteries, but for the price tag, it's freaking better. Let me just reach back here, turn on the thing. There's no light up eyes or anything like that, which is kind of disappointing. This is just a... Basically, this is just a gigantic sound box. That's all this is. Now the thing's on, and the button to activate the sounds is right here on the nose. Lasers... I guess an intimidating roar laser thing, maybe? Another laser. Another slightly different laser. Don't know how to describe that one. Rapid fire. Impact. Impact that sounds bad near the end. Another roar. Hey look, more impact, more shots. I don't know. Still nothing. Really big cannon. Okay, that was the caterpillar treads for the thing. If you have to go through almost 15 sounds on this thing just to get the tread sound, you need a separate button, okay? I'm telling you. Design flaw. And we're back to the line. So, I can shut this off because that's all this thing does. It's just a glorified sound box. Overall, though, there actually is no... Aside from the eyes, there are no paint applications on this thing, which is really disappointing for the price tag, which I will get into once I get this thing transformed, if you can even call it that. Step 1. Stand the mammoth up. And reposition the camera because, oh look, he has visible regular head syndrome. That's always nice. Let me just rip these things off and reposition them, because things are always nice when you have to do so much parts forming. Bring the arms down, and now he's in his robot form. Kind of. This is an alright robot form, I will admit. Like this, I like it. Then you take the, I guess, star fans and just put them in his hands. I have no idea what they're calling these. I didn't watch Ninja. I'm not completely current on Ninja Steel, but let's go to some of my major gripes. Let's go to the bottom of him where we can... Actually, let me just pop the missiles launchers off here because I don't want these things breaking because he's going back. Let's go to his bottom. I'm just going to reposition the camera here. You notice he's got the black wheels here, and these roll fantastically. I just have one major question. Since this thing is supposed to roll, why didn't you think to put one wheel here, here, and two down here? Is that so much to ask for? I guess so. So, let's get this tank back up here. And oh, I'm surprised he actually stayed together for that. But the wheels would have been greatly appreciated on this thing, because otherwise, like if you have carpet or tile or hardwood floors or something like that, you're going to be scraping this thing up a lot. And the plastic quality on this, let me just say this, it's something you can only tell when you pick it up, but it does not feel up to spec. This feels like the same stuff that they made the, if any of you remember these, the jumbo Megazords that they did for like Wild Force and Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder. It feels like the same plastic they did that. So it's like the big vinyl figures. That's the same quality plastic we're getting here. And while it's durable enough, it still feels, I don't know really how to describe it. It feels cheap. That's the best I can describe it without having to pull out a thesaurus at this point. And honestly, I don't feel like going full-on English major here just to describe this thing, because he is not worth the brain power. But, and doing the size comparisons for this guy, I'm just going to show you this, because I have to scoot him way back. Actually, I'm going to need my feet for this. Going to need to scoot him way back, so that I can actually get these in frame. And I have not reviewed him yet, but I did not understand that he's almost 2 feet tall. This is the Ninja Fusion Zord, which I have the sword assembled differently for storage purposes, because this sword has some major issues, and if I decide to review the Bull Rider and this, I will get into that, but another day. And finally, because I have the Rumble Tusk, we're just going to do a size comparison here. We're going to be literally raising the bar and lowering the quality. Solid, but issues. I don't even know. I don't know what went wrong. But yeah, now we're going to get into the quote-unquote Ultra Zord. Which, the way the show's been progressing so far, with the Battleizer already showing up in episode 14, 15, somewhere in there, I don't understand it. The Battleizer never shows up, and this is just my nitpick, this is where I go full-on nerd for a moment. The Battleizer never shows up until the second season, usually with the Neo Saga and stuff, because it is deemed either overpowered or it did not fit in the original story. Now, this is another part. I gotta use my feet to stabilize this thing, because for whatever reason, they thought they needed to put a heavy ratchet in there. And I don't mean heavy ratchet as in, oh, it's just a standard, leader class transformer ratchet joint. No. I mean, this thing is so overpowered that this is the kind of stuff you'd see on, like, if they made Unicron 3 feet tall. So, 1, 2, 3. That is the one thing I will give this. That is the one thing the Japanese version does not have. It does not have any stopping points on this. Excuse me. It just spins freely. And while we're looking at it like this, I have actually a few dozen major complaints. Like, if you're gonna do anything, why couldn't you paint the flames? Okay, it's a simple paint application. These don't touch the ground ever. This is the back. These are the back of the arms. Okay. Why? If we're paying what you guys want for this, we should at least be getting what we deserve. And on that subject, why? The hands, the combined mode hands. Why is there just a thumb? Why is there just a thumb? It's hollow. Let me show you this. This thing is so hollow, you just slide it together. There's no tabs, no connections. You just slide the pegs over pegs. And that's all there is to it. Now, let me bring in the Rumble Tusk, because I am not disassembling the Fusion Zord again tonight. Or today. Whatever time it is, I've lost track at this point. Since I have been up since yesterday. Yeah. Now, on the back of this, on all of the Zords that use the Nitro Zord base, there is this peg. There's also this receiving port here for Zord Builder, which I like and hate at the same time, because this is made out of the same flimsy material as this. It's not flimsy as in weak, it's flimsy as in it feels cheap. So let's bring this thing here, and when I finally get this thing all tabbed together, you're probably going to hear a very loud pop. So let me just tighten up the tripod again. And get another disaster into the cockpit. Line it up. And there is a lot of extra room. Okay, so he's already in. I was expecting that to be louder, because the first time I did that, my ears were ringing. And it wasn't because I had my head next to the thing or anything like that. It was just that loud. So, this one, the feet don't even stay in all the way, which is rather disappointing. Let me reconnect the quote-unquote handles, which he cannot even hold, which is, again, disappointing. Because at least with, actually, this thing is designed so poorly, you don't even need to remove his weapons. So, that is rather poor design. And let me push this guy back here. So let me show you the only two parts you need from the Bull Rider. You are not going to believe this. Let me take off the Bull Rider's legs, which form the feet for the Ultra Zord, or the Fusion Zord. Don't know why I called it an Ultra Zord. And that's all you need. Just fold out like you would do normally. And then take each one, and they each go in a certain way. And there's the wheel coming off again. At least they go on smoothly enough. That's the only good thing I can say. And you just line them up and slot them into the hands. Am I doing this right? Is this the right side? Yes. And there you have it. The Ultra Zord. Yay. Now, if you're using the Ninja Steel Megazord and the Bull Rider, and you're thinking, oh, hey, well, maybe there's just storage for the parts on the back, you'd be horribly, horribly mistaken. And, of course, there is nothing you can do with the head. I mean, you can take the shuriken off, which I don't know what this is good for, why this part even exists, because this isn't compatible with anything. And turn it around, so that way, you know, you at least have the star going the same way, but I don't think this is the official combination. I can't remember. Like, I have the instructions, but I just don't care. But there is no place down here to attach the rest of the parts, so just doing the Ultra Zord, you're left with, like, if you have another spare Zord like I do, you're left with all these spare parts, which is ridiculous. Normally, you'd just be left with basically the entire upper body. Actually, I'm sorry, literally the upper body of the Bull Rider Megazord left. That's all you'd have left. And this thing, the only thing I found in my collection, short of my Super Train, which I could not pull off the shelf because it is very much up there, is Serpentera, who needs to be dusted again, I will admit, but he is the only thing in my collection that even half scales with this thing. Following that, the only other thing that scales with him is Energon Omega Supreme, which, honestly, if I review, there is something seriously wrong with me because I don't like that figure. I like the design of him. I hate the transformation. I hate that the joints on it are so loud. Honestly, it used to wake up my dog. Let me scooch back here so I can move the camera back, so you can see the not even close size comparison. He's the only one in my collection that I can actually access that kind of scales, which is pathetic. Now let me get into the real kicker here, for those of you who do not know. This thing, this of a thing, will run you $100 plus tax at Toys R Us. Even on their website, and I gotta say this, it is, now it's up to you. If you want this thing, fine. If you don't, fine. This is one of those figures where it's hit and miss. Why do I have to get rid of it? I have no room for it. I did not know it was going to be this tall because I did not understand how big it was. The build quality is subpar. Like, go back 5-6 years. The quality there, fine. Quality now, terrible. Just on this one. On these figures, fine. On the big guy, no. The price point, $100, not worth it. Comes with batteries, yes. Electronic, yes. Playset, yes. Gimmick, didn't ask for that. But there are too many flaws with this thing, and the number one being heart leprosy. These wheels down here, while they stay on well enough, the right side works, left side, gone. Right side, just pops off. And if you grab this part too hard, comes off. So, this thing comes apart in so many different ways just because of how big it is that it's a chore just to assemble this thing, first of all. And then the $100 price tag comes in, and people, honestly, I predict this is going to be a shelf warmer until they have to mark it so low that they won't make anything on it. That's what I'm predicting. This figure is good, not great. It's barely acceptable in some areas. But for the same price, I mean, this is the three options you have at Toys R Us right now for the $100 price tag. You have the Lion Fortress, the 5-in-1 movie Megazord from the the Power Rangers 2017 movie, and the 18-inch all-in-one deluxe Voltron figure that has all 5 lions. All of them are Toys R Us exclusives for $100, and apparently this is the one I went with. No. So you're going back, and I'm probably swapping you out for Voltron, because Voltron cannot be this bad. It's impossible. Literally impossible. So I'm going to start breaking this guy down. Going to put him back in the box. This has been an unenthusiastic review that's basically sounded like me complaining, and yeah, kind of am. Because this was a gift from a friend. This was part of a trade, and it really pisses me off that I have to go take this thing and put it all the way back in the box and take it all the way back down to the store, which is about, you don't want to know, from my house. And exchange it, because that was part of the deal we had. I do something, I get him a series he's been looking for the last decade, and this was the trade. So this really ticks me off, because this is terrible. In other news, though, I managed to finally get my freaking ass a PS3, which I am loving. That's one of the reasons I have not been so active, because I have been gaming all day, every day, for the last week and a half. So, with that, I am the Dread Joker. This has been the review of, do you want it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you need it? That actually works. But yeah, as a build thing, hollow. So, thank you for watching. I hope this was a little illuminating into the quality of this thing. If you're going to take the plunge, yeah, maybe. Only if this is worth it to you. If you're getting this as a gift for, like, a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, yeah, it's fine. But if you're a collector or something like that, or if, like, you're looking to spend $100 on this, my advice is don't. There are so many better things out there. You can buy, like, go on eBay, get yourself a bunch of Gundam model kits or something like that. Because, honestly, you can get, like, probably 10, 12 kits for the same price as this thing. And Toys R Us is also offering, because you have a 90-day return policy on this, Toys R Us is offering an extended warranty on this. A toy! A toy that does basically nothing! For, like, 20 bucks. Don't do that. You have 90 days. If it takes you 90 days to determine to keep this thing, it didn't take me 24 hours to determine I'm not keeping this thing. So, don't fall for that extended warranty bull. It is not worth it to spend $140 on this thing. It is not. This thing, honestly, I don't feel this is worth $90. I don't feel this is... Just the build quality alone, this is worth maybe $50 at most. The only thing that gives it that $100 price tag is the size. That's the only thing that does it. And yes, I am ranting at this point, but this is stuff you need to know. The height is the height and the electronics. Those are the only two things that actually make it worth it. Oh, I take that back. There are 2 other paint applications, or 3 other applications on this. The star, the visor, and the mouth plate. Again, for $100, could you guys not have afforded a Sharpie? I can afford Sharpies all day. If I wanted to, I could touch this thing up, make it immaculate. I'm not going to take the time. It's going back. Screw it. I'm tired of this thing. So, worth it? No. No, no, no. This thing gets the... Well, I cannot give this thing a stamp of approval. This thing gets the buckshot and the 12 gauge of disapproval. This thing is shotgun to the face, boot to the head, bad. Epic fail, Bandai. Thank you for watching. Hope you stick around and come back for more stuff soon. Joker out.